Okay, I'm, and I guess onto the other device, which is the Touch, which we were talking about. We talked about it has its obvious problems, but it has its good things too. Basically, it got the upgrade everybody was expecting. It's now an iPhone 4 without the phone.
Yeah. Which makes it about feature compatible.
Yeah, well, it's like some people were talking about, like, oh, Apple's going to hold some features back. I don't see a feature of the iPhone they held back. It seems to have them all. And honestly,
all they held back was the antenna, which is the thing that they got in trouble with for the iPhone anyway.
Yeah, well, and it's like, and honestly, honestly, since you don't have the two antennas, you don't need to do that design anyways. So there's room inside for the antenna, and it works fine. It'll work fine. The thing that I would disagree with the fanboys is actually I think this is exactly what Apple should have done with the Touch because of how much iOS is hurting. They need to sell as many iPod Touches as possible to try and stem that tide for as long as possible. And honestly, the biggest hindrance to them selling iPhones right now is AT&T. It's the data caps AT&T is imposing. It's the activation fees and the contracts. Because there's no way to get an iPhone without being subject to all of that. And the obvious alternative, if you want that device, is to get the iPod Touch, which is that device, without any of the cell phone company strings attached.
And I'm going to be honest, I actually kind of like the new iPod Touch. Yeah, if I were in the market for a device like that, since there are currently no Android-only MP3 players to give me the feel of the Android system that I like, I would buy an iPod Touch.
No, it's like I'm saying. We're talking about one of the few products Apple makes that I can actually praise, which is iPods and that line of stuff. The reason that stuff isn't a good product for me is because Apple made it very clear that I shouldn't buy it. And if Apple would change that stance, I would probably buy it.
Just so that, like, I wouldn't even use it as a music player because, honestly, the way that my Nexus 1 is working, it all seems very good, but the way that I would want to use the iPod Touch is specifically as a camera. Is like they have the video, they have an iMovie port to iOS 4, and they had that HDR camera thing that they demoed. And such. It looks like, as far as cameras go, it could actually be very nice.
The thing I'm waiting to see on the HDR, it's like I'm going to piss off all the fanboys now, and I've said this with Bit, and I'm going to say it again here, is the problem with that is it can either be the best thing since sliced bread, or it can get in the way and screw up basic pictures. And the fact that Steve felt the need to quantify it when he debuted it on stage makes me wonder, how does this really perform in real-world conditions? It's something we'll find out as the situation.
Well, it's not like that. It's not exactly like they give you a my way or the highway kind of thing with that particular.
Yeah, no, it's like you can turn it off, but here's the thing. Depending on a plethora of variables. And it is a plethora of variables. So at this point, even an uber geek who can take all the science apart in their head, until they actually get their hands and test this feature, can't tell you. It can either improve overall picture quality, or it will only improve it under certain conditions, and in other conditions you wind up boxing with this feature. So you wind up not trusting it and turning it off. Which it's going to wind up being is anyone's guess.
The HDR isn't even the thing that would be selling this for me. It's just the whole idea of having a little HDR camera that will upload things directly to whatever size or whatever you're looking for, and the ability to edit them on the fly.
Yeah.
Those are both very nice features as far as a camera goes. So the iPod Touch to me sells better as a camera than as an MP3 player.
Well, see, that's the thing. None of these devices are traditional devices anymore. It's like the problem everybody's having, especially marketing people and shit, is they're trying to go, well, is it a media player? Is it a camera? Is it a game system? Is it a sign? Well, the answer is it's all of these and none of these. It's a link device. It's a new device. It's a device that wears many hats depending on what you happen to be doing at this time, and it's one of many devices. It's not a traditional device X device. It's a device that can wear device X, device Y, device Z's hat. And you're buying it to be a multifunction device, so instead of carrying a camera, a media player, a sign, and all these other things around, you carry one device. Or in the case of some people, because they're really power users, they're going to be carrying two devices. If you're a power user at this point and you really want the best of the best, you're going to get one device because it's a little better at X, and the other device is a little better at X, even if they both have overlap, because this feature's better over here and this one's better over there. We're not quite for that level of user to the one device yet. We're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. The biggest hindrance to it actually is the lack of cross-platform support and the way that some people are being contrary just to be contrary. And this is a problem on every platform in this thing right there. Okay, so that gets us...
One more thing about the whole iPod Touch thing that you have listed in the show notes, the thing that Apple said about it being the #1 portable game playing console thing. Do you think that that's completely genuine as far as talking about real popularity, or do you think it was like just a current section? Because honestly, by now the DS and PSP and stuff that they'd be comparing to are old.
Well, no, okay, that's the thing. I believe that statistic, but you can interpret it in one of many ways. You can interpret it that the other markets are suffering a little bit right now because, like you said, it's been a while since a revision. Honestly, I was surprised that we didn't have new game systems at this year's E3 because we're kind of due for a whole new run of systems. Like basically the big improvements was the 360 got a revision, and that was about it. You know, there wasn't a new PlayStation Portable. There wasn't a new Nintendo Portable. Like there weren't new systems available for consumer for this Christmas. My guess is all those companies are all sitting back and going, with the economy like it is right now, even though we have projects in the works, this is not the time to launch them. And honestly, I think what might come out of that is what I would like to see, because there's supposed to be like an Android PSP, combo device and other things like that. What I would honestly like to see come out of that is for the current situation to carry on for another few years, so that these devices do become the game systems, so that we put an end to this support Nintendo, support Sony, support Microsoft, support stuff. It's like, no, I just want to play games and I just want to get them. It's like that would
definitely be nice.
That would be a win for the end user.
And I personally very much like to see Android become a very big game platform. In part because it's going to be both on TVs and on portable devices.
No, that's the thing. If we don't have another console run, and we have a second generation Google TV that also runs the Android marketplace, and we're fixing to have really powerful tablet Android devices and all this other stuff, what I see happening is there's games on iOS right now that are based on the Unreal Engine, and I see Unreal and Half-Life Engine games and games based on all these traditionally platform and PC game engines being ported to Android and iOS, and it's basically you're choosing which platform works best for your house, whether it's iOS or Android, and the other apps that go with it, and there'll be game apps. I mean, I see there being a 360 app for both Android and iOS. I see there being a PSP app for Android and iOS, and so on and so forth, and then you have access to that game library. They may even make it something like MediaFly, where you lease access to that game library, so you're trading owning the games, but For a monthly fee, you have access to the whole archive and everything that comes out, and they get their residuals that they desperately want to maintain their thing. Because that's what the whole console thing is about.
Well, would that kind of market really be successful, though? It sounds kind of like the Sega Channel, and that thing bombed.
It bombed because of when it was launched, but we're honestly at the time now. I mean, think about it. We're at a time now where realistically there's millions of households paying for subscriptions to Xbox Live. So the subscription model for games it's been established. So and the same thing with the Wii. With the Wii, you can now get access to Nintendo's old archives.
Yeah, but it's not with the subscription service. You pay on a pay-per-game basis.
Oh, no. That's the thing. It can't be a pay-per-game basis. It needs to be like a moderate fee. Like I see what I see being for the Xbox thing is like this is a part of Xbox Live Platinum that you also get the game over on this device, or you get this version of it over. I see them doing stuff like that, and I see that actually. I see people paying for that. I really do. The technology is clearly here. Whether or not it'll be implemented is anything else. And honestly, that would be a real win-win for the console makers, because right now they have the hardware cost of actually putting a console out. They lose money on every single console they sell. They make it up in licensing the games and selling you the games. If they get rid of the hardware and it's just pure profit of the licensing rental fee for access to the archive that they have licensed, their profits octuple, their costs through their costs going down, and honestly, because that model has been established now, I really do see the user paying it, as long as they price it right.
I hope they see it that way.
As long as they price it right. Now, if they try and do something like $50 a month, that's going to fall flat on its face. It needs to be something like $5 to $15 a month, or something like $75 to $100 a year or less. It needs to be reasonably priced. It needs to be priced honestly on par with a MediaFly subscription. If they price it like that, I see it catching on. If they try and rape it, no, it'll fall on its face like the Sega Channel and the other shit like that. Yeah. Okay.